Greetings to you folks and everyone, welcome here. I would like to just get right to the point. I want to paint a picture and I want to explain where we are, keeping our focus on Israel in regards and relationship to Scripture. And folks, I think we're quite a bit closer than most people actually think. And I'm going to give you the information by the news that is new, that's out there, and I'm going to start with that news. I'm going to get right into it as we understand the ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel and Hamas and Israel is fragile. Let's get right to the very first one. A Palestinian man was killed. 7 people were wounded by Israeli fire overnight as the crowd gathered in hope of returning back to northern Gaza. Northern Gaza is closed off by Israel, and they were supposed to have been opening that up to civilians yesterday, and it didn't happen because Hamas broke the ceasefire. A man was shot and 2 others were wounded late on Saturday, according to this hospital. I'll try to pronounce the name, and I'm sure I just blow it, which received the casualties. Another 5 Palestinians, including a child, were wounded. IDF military warned people to stay away from the forces and are still operating in a buffer zone inside Gaza along the border. And also this is in the center. The center of Gaza is divided into 2 by a wide piece of asphalt that Israel has built up troops there, and people cannot cross that. So north and south are divided, and that's what this corridor is. And again, I'd say the name, I'm sure I'd just blow it. I'm really westernized, you guys. Taught on phonics. Prime Minister says significant efforts being made to address Hamas's violation. And this significant effort, really what that means is they're deciding what to do. We're going to see what that turnout is. That's why I just want a little more time here, because Hamas and Hezbollah are breaking their ceasefire deal. Hamas committed 2 breaches of the ceasefire agreement yesterday. It says, as a result, it has been decided that the passage of Gazans to northern Gaza will not be approved, as I explained earlier. That break, that line, that's between northern and southern. At the same time, significant efforts are being made with the United States to facilitate. Oh, this is the one girl with the 2 babies. That's who this is. She was supposed to have been released yesterday, and that didn't happen. So it's also been understood that what has been another cease is Israel has not gotten the names of the remaining live hostages. Part of the deal. Hamas was supposed to release that, and they didn't. Okay, let's see. 2 killed and 31 injured by Israeli fire, Lebanese health minister. Let's see, there was 2 people, 31. IDF had warned Lebanese civilians over the weekend not to approach areas where troops are still deployed. Israel said Friday its forces would remain in southern Lebanon beyond today. That's their deadline. They were supposed to have moved out. But again, Hezbollah broke the ceasefire. They're not moving out. They're still finding caches of weapons in southern Lebanon. They're supposed to all be reported, found, and eliminated. And the Lebanese army, their defense force, was supposed to take over, and they're not doing it sufficiently. And Israel said, oh no, this is just opening up that area way too wide open, and we would have no control over it. It's important. A ceasefire signed in November. Israel stipulated that Israeli forces would withdraw as the Iranian-backed terror group weapons and fighters are removed from the southern Lebanon and the Lebanese army deploys, which I just explained to you. Let's get on to this other one here. Last one here. Syria says authorities seized weapon shipments headed to Hezbollah in Lebanon. And again, all these headings can be looked up, and you can find all of those if you want to read them in their entirety, because even what I printed here is only part of it. It is obvious, and it should be very obvious, the main reason that Hezbollah and Hamas have decided to have a ceasefire, reasons, they're losing. Number 2, they need to regroup. the fact that they want to regroup and they're attempting to try to smuggle in weapons, and Hamas is recruiting young men, untrained young men, is now that they're out in the open. So they're trying to gather more troops. And Hamas wants those prisoners back, but they're going to have to find a way to work their way in. But I'm sure Hamas has got some sort of an idea of how to do that. Those prisoners that have been released out of the Israeli jails. So Hamas figures they can build, grow, fight again another day. Hezbollah figures it can grow again, build weapons, and fight again another day. Israel is standing vigilant over both of them. At what point is it that when somebody says that's enough, we're breaking the ceasefire? It could be Israel, it could be Hamas, it could be Hezbollah, and they decide to go back to a full war again of any sort, or the ceasefire is called to an end. That's it. And Israel says, nope, we're coming back into the West Bank again. Hezbollah, we're moving back into Lebanon again. And remember, Israel at this time has had the ability to be able to fortify more of the West Bank by eliminating a bunch of terror groups with the Judea and Samaria, West Bank. So Israel is using this time to be able to try to attempt to get back as many hostages alive that they can. I said alive. And see, I think that's why Hezbollah, this is my speculation here, might be actually not supplying the list of those that are alive because they're either dead or they're not in such good condition. So Hezbollah is going to try to milk this as far as they can and get as much as they can that they can rebuild and reoccupy. That's Hamas. Hezbollah, the same thing. Kind of interesting, isn't it, to watch? So you're seeing the picture. Let's remember that this is for God's purpose. And that purpose is to, for us to be able to understand that Psalm 83, an action of God, Zechariah 12, what he's going to do. But remember, its purpose is to eliminate the surrounding enemies of Israel. That is so that they can have a fulfilling part of a covenant told by Daniel in 9:27. And that is for them to build their temple. And then I'd kind of like to make another video on this one part. God has, from the day that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on the foal of a donkey, he had said then that from that point on, knowing he was going to be crucified, said from that time on, God says, I will hide my face from you. And he doesn't reopen back up again to Israel until that time of sacrificing. Is sacrificing necessary or the purpose? No. The purpose is that time when God says, I will refocus myself back on you. I'll open myself up to you. Remember, all this time, God has hidden his face from his Jews. So there is a reason for all this. Now, let me bring you around to a point. And this is why we have to sit and wait. Because it's God's timing when he says that I am going to step in. He doesn't say when. But through our understanding and our studying between Paul and the Thessalonians, between, we have Daniel 9:24 through 9:27. We have Zechariah 12. We all understand that there is a time when certain things happen that we will know that we're very close. And that's my point today. That if we can really see and get this picture of what's happening, this fragile ceasefire should break down in any way, shape, or form, the war will restart. If it does, will that be the time that God would say that he, paraphrasing here, blinding the horses caused confusion? In other words, he is going to enact what he said he was going to do, and that's, again, is the elimination of all surrounding enemies, that Israel would be able to build their temple again and start sacrificing. So, folks, more on this, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, and I'm sure, this video is kind of on the short side, but I'm sure there's going to be more coming through the week if you want to keep your eyes open here. I'd kind of like to explain that part about the hidden face, too, that God does, because that's in Scripture right there, very plain, that there's another purpose for us to understand. Okay, until my next video, I usually say until next Sunday, but I have a funny feeling I'm going to be back here again. I hope this was helpful, folks, and well, until the next video, we'll pick it up from there.